You're listening to Emerson Whitner's NXT Report on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Emerson Whitner, and this is your NXT audio update for Wednesday, August 26, 2015. NXT was last night, and for some inexplicable reason, it was 90 minutes long. I'll talk to you about what happened in those 90 minutes, and I'm positive you'll agree with me. This show did not need to be 90 minutes long. The show began with the 8-man tag with Enzo Amore, Colin Cassidy, and the Hype Bros versus Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, Dash Wilder, and Scott Dawson. The fans went nuts for the baby faces, chanting along to Enzo and Colin's entire shtick. I guess before I get into too much of this, in case you aren't aware, this show was actually taped before NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn, and this was taped in front of the Brooklyn audience, so it was 15,000 and change, or 13,000 and change, whatever it was. But either way, this crowd in Brooklyn, they loved Enzo, they loved Colin, they recited their shtick word for word along with Enzo and Colin, and there were actually a number of people in the front row wearing Mojo shirts, so they all went nuts when Mojo came out too. Honestly, I think the least popular person on that team was Zack Ryder, and who'd have thought you'd ever have said that a few years ago? Anyway, fans chanted for Enzo while Ryder was in the ring, so Enzo tagged in, but it quickly broke down into an 8-way brawl. Babyfaces cleared the ring, and Enzo took a running start at the ropes, and Colin lifted him up and threw him over the top rope onto their opponents. Back in the ring, the heels got the heat on Enzo, with Jordan being the one to cut him off. Nothing exceptional happened during the heat, but Jordan, Gable, Dash, and Dawson do work really well as a 4-man team. Just want to throw that out there. At one point, Dash put Enzo on the middle rope, but Enzo dove off with a springboard DDT and eventually crawled over to make the hot tag to Colin Cassidy. Cass got the tag, and he was so excited when he gave Chad Gable the Stinger Splash. He jumped so high and so far, he almost smashed his head into the ring post. Thank God he didn't do that. But the match broke down again at this point, with all 8 men brawling all over the bloody place, everyone hitting their big signature move, and the finish saw Colin heave Enzo off the top rope with a rocket launcher on Gable for the win. William Regal backstage was talking about the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which begins next week, when Neville walked up and wanted to take part. Mr. Regal put him in the tournament. Who's his partner? I don't know, but I know the tournament begins next Wednesday, September 2nd. We got the first of many TakeOver recap packages. The first one showed the ladder match and had Finn Balor then cutting a promo stating that beating Kevin Owens in the ladder match proved that Tokyo wasn't a fluke, and now he's on to bigger and better things. They then aired a full video package on Emma. It started with her debut on NXT as the perky, bubbly blonde, and how it transformed into her serious character she has now. Easy for me to say. Charlotte and Becky Lynch cut a promo on the other two foes in the Fatal 4-Way main event. And then we got a Becky Lynch video, because the Emma video, the Finn Balor video, and the Charlotte Becky promo weren't enough. So we got remember a few months ago when they were showing the same Becky Lynch promo like 3 or 4 weeks in a row? Well, this was basically it, only they added a little bit in the middle to reference her current storyline on Raw. And this is when I really noted that this show does not need to be 90 minutes this week. And it got better. Eva Marie pinned Carmella next. Someone on Facebook a few weeks ago made a picture. It was titled ROH's new logo. And it was Eva Marie standing there in her new gear, staring at the hard camera with the letters R and H on either side of her, because her gear, the top of it, crisscrosses in the middle like the O in the ROH logo. And so now once you see that, you can't unsee it. The fans did boo the heck, of course, out of Eva Marie. It sounded like they were trying to start 5 different chants at the same time, so they were all over the place, but they finally decided on "You Can't Wrestle." This is a better Eva match than a few years ago when she was the worst wrestler in the history of wrestling a few years back, but it was better than that, but not as good as her match a few weeks ago. Maybe just because I just watched Alicia Fox versus Amanda last night, and that was horrendous, so this was better in comparison. And honestly, I can't even describe half of what they tried to do to each other. At one point, Eva had her in a rest hold, and it looked like she was massaging Carmella's chesticular region. And eventually Eva won with the Kendrick. They haven't named it, by the way, just that the last time Brian Kendrick was in WWE, it was called the Kendrick. It's sliced bread number 2, in case you have no idea what I'm talking about. Tyler Breeze cut our next promo, and he said that things aren't over between him and Jushin Thunder Liger, and he has a much bigger idea for Mr. Regal. Emma and Dana Brooke were in a different part of the arena, cutting a promo on their opponents in the 4-way. Dana has dyed her hair gray, and I know if Brian Alvarez is listening to this, he's going to yell, and you can't dye your hair gray. She dyed her hair gray. And she's wearing this bright pink lipstick. She looked just so positively weird. And we followed that with a full Dana Brooke video package. Again, this show is 90 minutes for some reason. And if that's not enough, Bayley then cut a promo. Bayley cut the promo taped after her match on Saturday. She was in tears. She can barely get through the promo. And then her entire family made it onto the camera, including her mom coming up and talking for 2 minutes, and giving her a kiss and hugging her. Her brother walked into the screen. Some other woman they didn't identify came in. Might have been her sister or, an aunt or something. And if you think we're ready for another match, we're not ready for another match yet, because William Regal's backstage and ready to announce the first match of the Dusty Rhodes Classic tournament when Baron Corbin walked in and demanded to be in the tournament. Mr. Regal agreed, and next week, the first match of the tournament is Baron Corbin and the Man-Beast Rhino versus the most dominant team in NXT history, the longest-reigning tag team champions, the Ascension. We got yet another video package, another interview. Kevin Owens was trying to leave after his match. He's trying to avoid the cameraman, but the cameraman wouldn't leave him alone. Finally, Owens, without saying anything, gave the cameraman the look and walked off. Finally, we got a match. Unfortunately, it was Bull Dempsey versus Elias Sampson. Bull Dempsey now has a robe, and I think he's trying to be Michael Elgin. That's all I could think when I saw it. It looked like Michael Elgin's robe, plus Baron, Bull, has kind of thin hair, so he brushes it back, so it kind of looks like how Elgin used to look with his balding mullet. Bull is a hometown babyface, and literally no one reacted. I know Dave said in The Observer he got a nice reaction. By the end of the match, he got a nice reaction, but it was the worst reaction of anyone on either this show or TakeOver. Elias Sampson came out with a guitar, and they announced that he's a drifter. Personally, I think it would be better if he was a grifter with a G, but this is why I don't book the show. Elias, in my opinion, looks like the love child of Damien Sandow and Adam Rose. And because this show is 90 minutes long this week for some reason, he got extra offense, so it couldn't just be a TV squash. The fans kind of got behind Bull's comeback, and the finish saw Bull do that sit-down splash from the top rope that he threatened to do to the Tough Enough contestants on the first show. This time he actually did it, and he won. Samoa Joe was the feature of the next video package. And after the video, Samoa Joe put over the fans in Brooklyn, and long story short, and I mean a long story short, he wants to be NXT champion. And then we got another video package for the debuting Nia Jax. She's coming soon. And this is when I'm like hitting my head off the wall, because for the second time in 90 minutes, they showed the Coming This Fall to WWE Network video that was on SummerSlam and on Raw, and it's like 2.5 minutes long, and they aired it twice during this 90-minute show. We got another video package for Apollo Crews, and Apollo Crews is happy because he won his debut match, and he said it was on his 20th birthday. I wrote that it was his 20th birthday. Dave Meltzer wrote it was his 28th birthday. So Apollo needs to, say how old he actually is. No match yet. Instead, Blake, Murphy, and Alexa Bliss all had to watch the video of them losing the tag belts, and then they all got to cut a promo about how they're no longer the tag team champions. Alexa mocked Devin Taylor for asking stupid questions. Alexa, long story again short, she's going to be wrestling Blue Pants next week. And because since 5 recap videos in a row weren't enough, we not only got a recap of the SummerSlam Divas match, but then an entire video package for Charlotte. At this point, I was ready to quit watching NXT forever, and that was it. And then we got the main event, Fatal 4-Way Women's Match, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Dana Brooke, and Emma. And does anyone else find it weird that they were doing a 4-way with nothing at stake instead of just a tag match? These 4 tried very hard, that goes without saying, but with that out of the way, there seemed to be something missing with this match. The 4 of them just seemed to take a little longer to do anything. They all seemed to be a step behind. I don't know if it was just nerves because they're competing in front of such a large audience, or just, one of those nights. Eventually, Dana and Emma did team up to send Charlotte crashing into the dashboards early on in the match, so the heels teamed up on Becky for a while. Occasionally, Dana and Emma would give each other the eye, like they aren't trusting each other, and knowing that this is going to fall apart soon. And finally, they exploded, which included Dana bragging that she broke up a pin when Becky rolled Emma up. Charlotte finally got back in and went crazy on both heels. Charlotte got a series of near falls on both Dana and Emma after double DDT, reminiscent of when Miz did it to Big Show and Ryback at SummerSlam. Becky accidentally at one point gave Charlotte a missile drop kick, and then Emma made her come back and she gave the Emma Mite sandwich to Charlotte, and then it looked like she was coming through the TV screen when she gave it to Becky, and then Becky forgot to kick out. Emma pinned Becky. To the surprise of everyone, Emma won this Fatal 4-Way match. It surprised everyone in the arena, including Emma, and Becky just had that look on her face like, oh, I messed up. After the match, Charlotte speared Emma, a natural selection, before covering her and counting to 3 herself, so we at least know what the finish was supposed to be. Dana attacked Charlotte, so the show ended with Charlotte putting Dana in the figure 8, and Becky using the disarmer on Emma. So that is it, and thank God next week's show is back to 60 minutes. By the way, might as well talk about next week while I'm at it. I have left Blog Talk Radio. The Wrestling Outsiders podcast starting next week is going to be on talkshoe.com. That's TALKSHOE.com. Still Wednesday nights, still at 10 o'clock. And you check that out and listen to it, including our full archive is going to be up on there by the next week. But that's for next week. Until then, thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your week.
You're listening to Emerson Whitner's NXT Report on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.